Welcome to Fi Friday Feedback on the Fi Guys podcast, where we recap key takeaways from our most recent episode in order to help cement the information in your mind. We'll also be providing insights to burning questions from our community members in the viewer mailbag.
Remember, the Fi Guys podcast is your trusted source for all things financial independence, and we're thrilled to have you here with us on this journey. So whether you're listening while commuting, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we're here to provide you with the knowledge and inspiration you need to achieve your financial goals. The Fi Guys is a podcast dedicated to providing general information and insights on a wide range of wealth-related topics. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not constitute personalized financial advice.
The content provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be considered a substitute for professional financial advice. Your financial situation and goals are unique, and the information provided here may not be applicable or suitable for your specific circumstances.
We, the host and the guests of the Fi Guys, are not acting as your financial advisor. We are not aware of your individual financial situations, risk tolerance, or investment objectives. Any decisions or actions you take based on the information provided on this podcast are your own and made at your own risk. I may be a financial advisor, but I am not your financial advisor. And now that the lawyers are happy, let's get started.
Howdy guys, and welcome to Fi Friday Feedback. Welcome to the Friday episode. I'm Dom, he's Chris, and we're excited to be here. We're going to be recapping Monday's episode where we talked a lot about credit card hacking. Now, if you're new to credit card hacking, I definitely recommend you go back and listen to that podcast. And if you want to be a true historian of the Fi Guys, take a listen to episode 30, and I can't believe this, episode 31, where we first talked about credit card hacking on the channel. Now, there's a lot of stuff we didn't go over in Monday's episode, stuff that we kind of briefly mentioned at the end, but we thought we ought to bring it up because it is important to you and to us. So without anything else getting in the way, let's get right into today's episode. Chris, happy Friday. Welcome back. Glad to see you back. How was your week?
It was good. I feel like that's something getting in the way of getting into the stuff you want to talk about, but that's okay. Just to our audience members who are joining in, credit card hacking, when we say that, doesn't mean we're stealing people's credit cards or trying to walk by and swipe the information off of it. Credit card hacking means that we're using credit cards strategically to gain points in order to use those points or redeem those points for free travel, cash back, purchases. But what we mainly focus here on the Fi Guys, because that's what I do, is using it to travel the world for free flights, free hotels, stuff like that.
Absolutely. You know, some of the things that we briefly mentioned on last episode that we didn't get a chance to talk about was transfer partners, how to calculate your annual fees, and negotiating those annual fees. I know that's one of the things that a lot of people say that's kind of keeping them from getting this card or that card. Is like, well, it's just too expensive. I just can't justify that price. And you're saying that, well, actually, the annual fee is negotiable, but kind of, in a way.
Everything's negotiable.
Everything's negotiable. I love that. Everything has a price. I love that. Where should we start? Do you want to start by me asking you some questions, or should we get into transfer partners?
Yeah, let's start where we just let off. You asked me about the negotiation of annual fees, so let's just kind of start there since we kind of talked about it. One of the biggest things that I hear people say when I tell them about credit card hacking is they're like, well, the annual fee just costs so much money. Like, I can't afford that, whether that be $100 or $200. And there's some credit cards that are $800. And yeah, I definitely recommend if you're getting started, don't start with the $800 one because that's like higher levels. But you have to remember that you always need to calculate how much the points and what you're getting in terms of rewards are outpacing the annual fee. Because if you're getting, I don't know, $50 in value from your credit card, but you're spending $100 to keep that credit card open, well, you're losing $100. You're losing $50. And it just gets bigger and bigger as you get to some of the higher cards. Like my wife and I, we have 3 or 4 cards that have $800 annual fees. So like we're spending thousands of dollars to keep these cards open, but we're making sure that, hey, if we're not getting thousands of dollars, if not more in value, then we need to get rid of those. And that means every year, whenever our annual fee comes up, we're calculating and we're deciding, is it worth calling and closing this credit card and taking a minor hit to my credit score for a little bit because I've just closed out an account and lowered my usability or how much I have available to me? Is that worth it? Or should I try calling and seeing, are they willing to work with me? Hey, and this is my normal script. I'm just going to give you basically word for word. You can either do it through the chat or you can call them and I say, hey, I love this credit card. I've gotten value out of it, but recently you guys have increased the price or I'm just not seeing the right type of value. And I'm thinking about closing my credit card, do you guys have any redemption offers that you can offer me so I can try to think, is it worth keeping open another year? Sometimes they say no, but majority of the times they say, yeah, how about this? If you spend another, I don't know, $3,400 on the card, whatever it is, we'll give you this many points. Or if you do that, we'll give you a statement credit of this. And typically I'm able to lower the price down by about half of the annual fee cost. And that often, plus the rewards that I'm already getting, is worth it. In worst case scenario, I end up where exactly where I was about to be, and I just cancel the card. So I think too many people, when they hear about annual fees, they think, oh my God, that's going to be a reoccurring expense for the rest of my life. If I get this credit card at 25 and it's $100 fee, that means that's another $100 out of my life for the rest of my life. But that's not true, because after the first year, you can just cancel it and it's done. You paid it that one time, and maybe there's been times where we got 100,000 points, which we redeemed at $4,000 of value. And we spent $100 on the annual fee one time and then we canceled it. Like it can work as simply as that.
Now, as someone who has canceled a credit card before, what does that process kind of look like? And what would be the impact of canceling a credit card?
Yeah. So the process of that is just you call the credit card company, you let them know, hey, I want to cancel this card. They say, okay. If it's a metal card, they ask you to send it back in. That way they can shred it properly, because you can't just cut up a metal card. They're going to destroy your scissors. But if it's a normal plastic card, you can just cut it up and be done with it. And from there, in terms of credit score, I really can't tell you, because it depends on your current credit score and how things work. For me, I notice about a 10 to 20 point deduction in my credit score. And just so you guys are aware, I'm in the 800s. I'm not going to tell you exactly, but it's in the mid to eight or higher 800s. What I'll notice is it'll drop down maybe to the high 700s, maybe to the low 800s for about a month, and then 2 months, and then it's back up to where it was. So yeah, you take a little bit of a hit for a little while, but it's not something that's going to destroy your life in any way, shape, or form.
That's good to know. So it's not a 100-point swing usually. Nothing crazy that, but also I wouldn't cancel a credit card right before maybe applying for a loan on a house, right?
No, definitely not. You don't want to be applying for credit cards or anything like that when you're looking for those loans, because those interest rates are really going to calculate based off of your credit score. But that's kind of the thing where you think about. At some point, we'll do another credit score or podcast where we talk about the 5 levers of pulling it. But you have to remember, your credit utilization and your credit limit are just 2 small points in the whole credit card game that you can pull from. So there are things that, yeah, doing this one thing will help your credit score and it'll hurt it simultaneously. So you need to figure out where on the scale you want to fall. But in general, lowering your credit utilization a little bit by by canceling out a card doesn't impact indefinitely unless you hurt yourself somewhere else, which we can talk about at a different time in the podcast.
Now, one of the things we briefly mentioned earlier in this podcast was transfer partners. And for those who don't know, what is a transfer partner and how do you really take advantage of it? Because I know we've talked briefly on this in many podcasts back, but it's one of the best things that is available in with credit cards, right?
Yeah, and that's going to depend on the credit card. That's going to be things like Chase Bank, American Express, Capital One. The more premier credit cards, they actually give you the ability, because people think like, oh, I have this Southwest credit card or I have this Hyatt credit card or whatever it is. And if you're earning credit card points through Southwest, they're only in Southwest. You can't earn points in Southwest and be like, oh, I want to send this to Marriott. Like, that's not how that works. It's only in that ecosystem. But there are some credit cards like the Chase branded cards, the Capital One branded cards, the American branded cards that are their credit cards that allows you to earn points in their ecosystem. What most people do, say they get a Chase Sapphire rewards card and they earn 60,000 points. Well, in the Chase Sapphire little portal, you can go and you can book travel directly through Chase. It's very efficient. It's very easy, unless you need to make a change, but it's supposed to be the easy way to do it. And that's what most people do. And when you do that, you're typically rewarding at 0.5 to 1 point per point, which if you listen to Monday's podcast, we talked about being able to do 2, 3, 4 cents per point if you're able to find the right transfer partners. And sometimes there's even transfer bonuses. So there are some credit cards, like we've just mentioned, Chase, American Express, Capital One. We're able to now have all of these partners that are members at each one of them. For example, Chase has Hyatt, Marriott, a few different IGN properties, a bunch of different like Southwest and all these other airlines. Now, each one of those transfer partners, whether that be a hotel or an airline, they love when people have points in their ecosystem because to them, the way that you got those points was by spending money through them. Same if you have a Southwest rewards, rapid rewards number, every time you spend money, you get some points back to your rewards number that allows you to travel. Well, I can take 100,000 points from my Chase account and just send that over to Southwest. And Southwest doesn't know how they got those points. They just see, hey, there's 100,000 points in this person's ecosystem. They must have earned it within our little ecosystem. Let's give them better rewards because it's in here. They're not using a third party. And you don't have to do that just with Southwest. You can do it with Hyatt, which is usually the best redemption offer. You can do it with a bunch of other airlines, even some cruises. Does that make sense?
Interesting. It does. It does. And I'm kind of curious. One of the things in doing my own research was it's a little bit confusing to me. Maybe you can kind of shed some light on it. What are kind of like the difference between like points, miles, and cash back? Do you have a preferred, oh, points are worth more than miles, or does any of that ever factor into your decision when getting a card?
Miles are typically done with when it comes to airline credits.
Yeah.
So I don't really play any of those games. I'm not super loyal to any airline carrier with the exception of Southwest right now because they still have companion pass. So my wife travels with me for free whenever I fly because of that. And again, we have done that podcast and that's way back in the day. So you can go ahead and find that of how we're able to do that. But points and miles are almost synonymous. With miles, you usually can't transfer them, but that's kind of the older way. That's the way that people used to work like back in the 90s. Those are kind of done.
Okay.
Points is the way, or there is cash back. You can do either one. Typically, when you do a cash back, you're getting 1 cent per point. So every dollar that you spend, you're getting 1 cent back. And that's usually non-negotiable. So every $100 I spend, I get $1 back. Not the best redemption value. But yes, it is great that you have straight cash. So if I spend $100,000, hey, I have hundred bucks or $1,000 I can do whatever I want with. But that's not the best redemption. I'd rather be able to use my points to be able to transfer them out. So I hope that answers your question there. Points is
No,
usually the
yeah,
better way to go. Unless you're
absolutely.
someone who doesn't want to use points, you don't like traveling, you don't want to like even begin to work this world, then yeah, cash back is fine because it's simple. It's very, very simple, but it's not the most cost effective or not the most rewarding way of going about this. And personal finance is personal, so do what's best for you.
Exactly. That's the fun of it. That's the fun aspect of it. One of the things I kind of wanted to briefly touch on is how do you calculate points to annual fee to where have I used this card enough to justify the annual fee? How do you calculate that?
Yeah, so it depends on the card. There are some credit cards that they're kind of like coupon books, and for this, I'm thinking of like the Amex Platinum. There's a bunch of different things you have to be able to spend on to get your rewards back. So like they have Resi credits or Aura Ring credits or like all these other things that if you spend money on it, they just basically take it off of your bill. Now that credit card has like an $800 annual fee. So that means that every year, we get, I think it's $300 in like Lululemon credits. That means that my wife is going and spending $300 at Lululemon, something that she already does. So I'm saying, okay, that's rewards. That means I get to take that $800 and minus $300 from it, $500. Now we get $400 in Resi credits. So every time we go out to eat at a restaurant that's within that ecosystem, we get $400 there. And that is something we spend on. There's $500 left. Now the credit card's $100 because we just spent it. And then with that, I was able to get 100,000 points and I redeemed those 100,000 points at say 2 cents per point. So that means that that's another $2,000. So that $800 value, now I end up making on that credit card like $1,900 on that credit card in this 1 year. That is worth keeping for me open another year. But again, that's a personal decision that I have to make. In the next year, yeah, I'm going to have all those things, but I'm probably not going to have the points to offset it again because you only get that signing bonus that one time in the first year. So then in the next year, I have to make a determination. Do all the other fees and everything else make up for it? We have some credit cards that are hotel credit cards that have annual fees of like $85, $95 a year. But one of the rewards of it is that you get to stay in one of their like lower tier hotels for one night a year for just having the credit card open. And if you look at hotel prices, usually it's $200, $300. So what my wife and I do is we keep that credit card open. My wife has one, I have one. We'll both go ahead and book a room and get them back to back. with the same credit card, use our free nights. You can typically upgrade for a little bit more. And then we will be able to redeem that credit card that has a $95 annual fee. And we're able to get $600, $800 out of value out of those cards by being able to stay at a place for 2 nights when we're traveling.
Hmm, that's really
So that's how
smart.
you have to calculate it.
Yeah.
And you have to
And
look at it. You have to
that's
be really honest with yourself. Like, am I actually getting this value or is it just something that I hope to use? Am I actually using it or am I not? It's a yes or a no.
and I can see why the playing it on 2-player makes it a lot better, and playing it on 3 or 4-player, like we talked about on Monday, makes a lot of sense as well. In that card specifically, and is that just with, like, a Marriott card, or I know a lot of them have different offers, or is that what we should be looking for to get the hotel benefits? You should get a hotel card? Or do you find that some, like, bank cards have branches where it's like, "Oh, yeah, they partnered with Marriott or Hilton or whatever."
Yeah, you're going to hate this answer because you always do, but it depends. it
Damn it, Chris. I'm
it
banned now.
depends on what's best for you. There's people who I've seen who got Hyatt cards and they're like, "Hey, I want this Hyatt card because it gives me a free night." And it's like, "Yeah, that's great. Have you ever stayed at a Hyatt?" And they're like, "No, I only stay at Marriott's." And it's like, well, that's kind of a stupid
That's
decision.
stupid. Yeah, that
Like
doesn't
you,
make
you
sense.
really need to make sure you're doing what's right for you. Like I have Marriott cards, I have Hyatt cards, I have a bunch of different cards. If you want to get, again, the best ones are the ones that are branded, like the Chase Sapphires, the Amex Platinums and Golds, the venture cards through Capital One. Like those are the ones that give you a lot of optionality. But with a lot of optionality becomes a lot of decision fatigue. Sometimes people like just getting the branded cards. Like I stay at Marriott every year for 5 nights or whatever. I'm going to get a Marriott card because I'm loyal to them and they're going to give me back rewards for that. Again, you have to play that by yourself. And that's where you get to look at things like the points guy, like NerdWallet, like all the hacks, um, in order to see like what's going to be best for me. And if you really need to, like you can always reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com. I do this as a profession. Like I coach and consult as a profession for whatever the person wants.
And final question, I have to know, you have a good amount of cards, above 10, I think you said 18 at one point. How do you keep track of all of this information, Chris? This is I know you're a very smart guy, you listen to a lot of books. That brain is very powerful, very special, right? But how do you keep track of it all?
Yeah, that is just a simple Google Doc. So my wife and I, we have a expense tracker where we make sure we're checking all of our how much we're bringing in, how much is going out. A tab on that is credit cards, and it has our annual fees, the days that they're going to be redeemed, or the day that we're going to be renewed, how much points we got out of it, how much everything. What there are some of them that have things that you have to use every month, like those little like the Resi credits or like my Uber credits or whatever. And then every month you go and you check it. Did I use it? Did I not use it? And if you check it off, then that means you did use it. Like
Huh,
my wife and I, we have these cards that get us $15 each on Uber Eats or on Uber. So we use
yeah.
that for Uber Eats every month. So we get $30 every month to Uber Eats. We get like $50 to Grubhub. And we just kind of go through. We say, hey, we want to get Grubhub. We'll go and pick it up. And there's a free meal, which we would have spent anyways to buy a meal, but now it's free. So yeah, it's just
Interesting.
a very extensive spreadsheet that my wife and I made.
All right. Did you set that up, or I assume you set that up, or did she
Oh yeah.
set that up? Yeah.
No, I set that up. My wife,
It
she's very, very smart, but Excel is not her thing.
honestly, I can't blame her. Excel's brutal sometimes. It's pretty brutal. Well, that's going to conclude our recap of Monday with a lot of great added extra bonus content, which I absolutely loved. And I think I feel like I learned a few things in there as well. So, hey, props to me. I hope you guys learned something as well. A lot of great information in there. We're going to be moving on to our viewer mailbag part of the episode. This is where someone from the community writes in. They need some help with one thing or another, and we kind of help shed some light on that and kind of give them some advice. Right? A little viewer mailbag, right? A little viewer mailbag time. Everybody loves a mailbag time. Alrighty, so let's get right into it. Should I invest now or wait for the crash? That
Ooh,
is the
okay.
letterhead of today's episode. Howdy, Chris and Dom. Howdy. I am 20 years old. I'm 20 years old who has been dabbling in trading on and off since I was 18. I would say I have much experience, but I've always been interested in money and investing. Lately, though, I feel completely stuck. Like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, deciding if I should jump in or just walk away. Everywhere I look, the market feels like it's on fire. Record highs, constant hype, and everyone's talking about how much they're making. Careful with that one. But deep down, I can't shake the feeling that it's all about to burst. It feels like buying a TV at full price right before Black Friday. That, yeah, don't buy a TV right before Black Friday. Not smart. I keep asking myself, am I being smart by waiting? Or am I just letting fear hold me back? I know people say time in the market beats timing the market, but that's hard to internalize when everything feels so inflated. I guess the part of me, I guess part of me is worried about jumping in and losing it all right as it crashes. Yeah. There's so much I want to say on this. I can't wait till the end of this. Okay. All right. Um, After reading a bunch of comments online, I feel like I got to highlight so many points in here. That's another not smart thing to do. I realized that maybe I'm thinking too short term for my age. I've been considering starting a simple DCA dollar cost averaging strategy with a friend for the next 5 to 10 years. For
Why?
plan
With a
with a
friend?
friend for the next 5 to 10 years? Huh. We'll get into that as well. Just to get in the game and stop overthinking every move. Well, whatever. It's in, I guess. Um, but here's my real question. I feel like we have tons of questions here. How do you balance the fear of losing money with the need to just start investing? You don't. How do you know when when it's a smart move versus you're just being scared? You don't. Um, Chris is he's gonna drop some wisdom on us, hopefully. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially for someone who's young and wants to do the right thing, but can't tell if it's patience or courage is the better play right now. From Crash or Cash, a young investor's clash. Should I buy or fly? Why the market's sky feels so high. Wow. I feel like I should just highlight the whole article, go line by line, and just answer every question that wasn't even asked.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
lot. There's a lot in here. I don't know how.
there's so much in
I feel
there.
like we're gonna miss out on a few things, but we'll do our best. Before I get into my stuff, what's your thought process? Because I'm already worried I'm gonna forget about things. There was a lot
I'm
of things in there.
actively forgetting things right now. One thing that I know is fear never leaves you. It's very important that you always feel fear in your life. I think if you're not doing something scary or where you feel fearful, you're probably not doing things big enough, right? Now, I want to also delineate the difference between fear and danger. Fear is in the mind, danger is very real, right? I have a fear of someone breaking into my house is a lot different than somebody's in my house with a gun. Very big difference. Very, very big difference. So it's very important to really know yourself and calm the mind and understand the difference between fear and danger because oftentimes we think they're one and they are not. So just want to make that first thing known. One of your first questions is how do you balance the fear of losing money with the need to start investing? You are going to lose money. There's no question about it. The greatest investors have always lost money. In fact, the greatest investors usually lose the most money. Um, but it's how they
I think
react.
we need to preface that too, though. Is like, what do
Yes,
you mean by losing money? Like, if you put money in, you dollar cost average. You don't. Yes, money's going to go up and down, but you don't actually lock in those losses until you sell.
that's true. That's true. Right?
So it
If
all
you bought a
depends on how
stock,
you want to frame what is losing, what is winning.
and that's a great segue. How you frame everything is how your body is going to react. I was working with a buddy of mine yesterday, and he's like, "Man, this sucks. We have so much work to do." And I was like, "Well, at least you're not working with someone you hate. At least you're working with me." He's like, "You know what? That's actually a really great point. I feel a lot happier now." And the work went by quick, and we got it all done, and it was a great day. How you frame everything dictates how you see everything. And how you see everything is going to affect how you live. And that's very important. Um, how would you frame this, Chris? As a newbie like this, how do you frame it properly?
I think the way that you frame it is by realizing that you're ahead of this guy's 20 years old. He's ahead of 99% of his cohort in terms of like thinking about this stuff of investing. The way I would frame it is, hey, I'm doing this for the long term. Like, it doesn't matter what happens today, tomorrow, whatever. I'm 20 years old. I'm going to invest for the long term for a future in 20, 30, 45 years when I can retire and use this money. And how do I live for today? And that's the conundrum. That's what makes personal finance so personal. How do I live for today while also planning for tomorrow? Too many people want to go to the extreme every time of like, I'm either going to YOLO it and spend everything, or I'm going to save everything for the future and not live for today. And it's almost impossible because there is no right answer. You're constantly on the knife's edge of balancing left, right, left, right, left, right. And that's the reason that that's self-awareness. That's where you have to try to figure out and like walk down that path. Um, but I think the big, or do you have any other points before we kind of get into like what I think the biggest question this person is asking is?
No, let's go for it.
So what it sounds like, the biggest thing to me that this person's asking is the market's really high, things are scary, I should just wait, right? And to be totally honest, I have been hearing people say that as a financial coach and consultant for the last 3 years, and for the last 10 years as a financial advisor, minus a little bit of time during 2020. That's all I've been hearing. The market's way too high. It's going to crash. We should get out. We should just sit in cash. It's all scary. Let's just wait. Had you not done anything for the past 10 years, had you not done anything for the past 3 years, you would have missed out on some of the best returns in history. And the reason for that isn't because the market's on a tear, isn't because AI is winning. It's because the government will not stop printing money. It's because inflation is happening at a record pace. And smart money knows that you have to buy assets, not sit in cash. So all the people that are sitting here in fear saying, well, at least I still have my money, that money is getting devalued at a rate we have never seen before in history. I hate that we live in a system that forces us to gamble in order to try just to keep up with where we were. Yet that is the system that we find ourselves in. So rather than complaining and bitching about it, you do something about it. And by investing, by remembering that it's a long-term play, by dollar cost averaging, just like you said, that's how you do it. To our reader, like, you're ahead of 99% of people your age. You're thinking about investing, asking smart questions, and recognizing your emotions before you're actually acting. That's maturity that most people don't hit until they've already made like some pretty expensive mistakes, very expensive mistakes. Because that fear that you're feeling, it's not a red flag, that's awareness. And that awareness is a really good thing. Every great investor starts by feeling like the market's about to crash. The trick isn't to eliminate the fear, it's to learn how to invest despite the fear. Because there's always going to be fear because we don't know what the future holds. No one does. Anyone that tells you they know what the future holds, get the hell away from them because they're lying. Because people that have tried to wait for the dip, it's like waiting for the perfect wave that never comes. And as a surfer, if you're the guy who's like, oh, I'm going to take this one, no, it's not good enough. I'm going to take this one, no, it's not good enough. You're never going to go. You're just going to sit out there. I recently just got back from Hawaii, and whenever I go to Hawaii, I love to just go and free dive and snorkel. It's like my favorite thing in the world. And one thing that I find myself is like, it's like this constant dopamine trip. Cause I go and I'll find something, oh man, there's an awesome sea turtle or this awesome thing or an eel. Every time I go out there, I look for octopi. Like, I love finding octopus. It's like the hardest thing to find. It's really a needle in the haystack. But for me, as I'm looking for these octopus, like, I'm passing up all these other great things. And sometimes I'll come in and like, I'll hear people on the shoreline. They're like, man, did you see that cool fish or that turtle? And I'm just like, yeah, who cares about that stuff? I'm waiting for the perfect thing to find it. And when I find those perfect things, I miss it because that was perfect, but I was looking for something different. And it sounds like you might be in the same thing. You're waiting for the perfect time, and there is no perfect time. The perfect time is whatever you determine it to be. So you'll either, if you wait for the perfect time, you're either going to miss or you're going to panic when it actually hits, like most people do. Because markets always feel overpriced in the short term and undervalued in hindsight. That's the way it's always worked. Because everyone always thinks, I'm going to invest when things are bad. But the reason that, and then they think of it's going to be just like today, everything's normal, and the stock market's down by 50% for whatever reason. But if the stock market is down by 50%, people are basically believing the world is going to end. And then that's when you're going to say, I'm going to do it. Think about COVID. Markets dropped by 30%. Everyone's like, all right, this is not a buying opportunity though, because this time is different. The most famous words of every investor before they F something up. This time is different. Remember that investing is not an event. It's a habit. You're not buying a single stock. You're building a system that helps future you, helps future you win slowly and consistently. That's why dollar cost averaging is such a superpower for someone in their 20s. If you've invested for 10 years, what happens in the next 12 months barely matters. Especially at 20 years old, you're investing for the next 45 years. So what happens in the next 12 months doesn't matter at all. The market could drop 30% tomorrow, the day after you invested everything, and you'd still be, and it would still be a blip on a long-term chart. A blip that if you expanded out far enough over 40 years, you wouldn't even be able to delineate with your own eyes. So time, not timing, is the biggest advantage that you have as a 20-year-old. You're not Warren Buffett. You're not some quant trader who has the ability to beat everyone else. Everyone thinks they do and they don't. You don't need to beat the market. You just need to join it and stay there. Most professional investors underperform simply because they jump in and out, and they jump in and out too often, which consistently crushes their clever little dreams over time. And when you also incorporate how much you have to pay in taxes when you're jumping in and out, it just further compounds the issues because most people aren't investing in IRAs or in tax sheltered things. So I want you to think about this like you're training for jujitsu or for fitness. You don't build muscle in one workout. You build it through consistent reps, even on the days that you're sure it's not working. Investing is the exact same thing. It's boring. It feels like you're not doing anything. That is the point of it. And that's what the sucky part about it is. People will go into investing just like they do into the gym. And they get into the gym, the first few days, it's like, man, I see so much growth. And then it just plateaus. It's the exact same thing as investing. Man, I see all this growth and then it just plateaus. And that's the boring middle, but that's the point of which it's working. So don't try to outsmart the market, try to outdiscipline it. Automate your contributions, set up recurring investment amounts, and remove your emotions from the process. The less you touch it, the more it grows. And this is like one of the few things in life that you can just set it and legitimately forget it, and you'll be way better off than if you go in there and F with it every 10 minutes. Because you need to focus on learning, not on earning. At least for the first few years of investing. That means that you need to read, watch, listen, and experiment with small amounts because you're early in your investment journey. And this is like tuition for financial literacy. And hopefully the literacy you learned is to just set it and get the hell out of the way. The final thing I want to say, you have to remember that clarity is far more important than certainty. You will never be certain if what you're going to do is going to work. You'll never have certainty about the markets, about your life, about anything. But you can have clarity about your goals, your time horizon, your behavior that you're going to put into it. That's what keeps you grounded when every single other person in the world is panicking. That's what keeps you allowed to win when everyone else is freaking the hell out. And that's pretty damn cool. That's what financial independence provides us. An ability to control ourselves when everyone else is freaking out. That's it. I hope I give him something.
No, I think a lesson for all of us is perfection is the enemy of progress. So do it to the best of your ability. Always keep improving. And perfection is a beautiful thing, but I don't think it can ever be achieved. That's my take, though. That's my take.
So good luck from California. Good luck from Arizona. You are in a great spot. 20 years old. Just do what you think is best.
Yeah.
But do something. Do something.
Yes. Action is much better than inaction because at least you'll learn something along the way. Well, we're going to be moving on to our win of the week. This is the part of the podcast where Chris and I share one of our wins of the week, and maybe you guys would share it down below as well. We love hearing about what you guys have going on in your lives. For us, Chris, you just got back from Hawaii. What is your win of the week? I assume it's tied to Hawaii, no?
It is tied to Hawaii. So something I've always wanted, just as a display thing. It's called a liamu. It's a Hawaiian club, the one with the shark teeth and stuff. But they're always super expensive, and haven't always had a lot of money. So this year, for those of you who are watching on YouTube or on Spotify, you'll be able to see it. But this year, when I was in Hawaii, I finally purchased a liamu, and here it is,
Oh
which
my
is
God, it's huge. Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
So this one's pretty cool. It's fake shark teeth. So those who are looking for like, oh my God, they killed sharks. No, it's not real. But yeah, this thing is it's pretty sick. So this is my
Insane.
new home defense next to the gun and the baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. But yeah, so don't break into my house.
Don't break into Chris's house. He'll beat the shit out of you and put you in a guillotine or something. Good Lord. That's insane. That's freaking cool. I'm guessing that didn't fit in the carry-on.
No, I had to
That's
check
gotta be
that bag.
stowed. Hey, gotta check that one. Yeah. Yeah. Just yes, I'll take a bag of peanuts over here. Like, how do you get that on a plane? What the fuck? That is insane.
Yeah,
That's so
it made it through. It didn't beep because it's made out of wood.
exactly. Exactly. You're getting too many ideas to the terrorists, Chris. We gotta keep that. We gotta keep that on the DL. Wooden weapons. Yeah. That's freaking cool though. That's super cool. I'm glad. Are we gonna see it in the background or is this going somewhere else in the house?
No, I was gonna go somewhere else in the house. The background has stuff from like different places I've traveled to. It has some. I don't think there's any Hawaii stuff back there, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna go in the background.
Oh,
We have a little Hawaiian
yeah.
room for our guest bedroom.
Sick. Very cool. Well, that is an amazing win of the week. For me, I didn't travel all that way for something as amazing like that. I traveled to my kitchen as the birthplace of where most of my win of the weeks come from, to be honest. I have been on a bit of a tear making cinnamon rolls recently, and I think I perfected my cinnamon rolls. I got to make it one more time this week to really make sure. For me, what I do, and this is a bad habit of mine, because it kind of ruins the food, to me at least. But in an effort to perfect a recipe, I can't make it once a year. I'm like, oh, how did I do it last year? And like, no, I have to make it back to back to back to back to perfect it. That's how it was with my cheesecakes when I was making cheesecakes literally every week. And that's how it is with the cinnamon rolls. I've been wanting to make cinnamon rolls. I've been asking to make cinnamon rolls with my family, and nobody's. It's just like, yeah, well, sure, why not? And this never happens, and that just bugs me because I get hungry quick. So I finally found a recipe that I absolutely love. Changed it a bit, edited it a bit, made it my own, and I'm still making it my own. But I believe this next version will be the one of one. Also, quick baking tip: when you have something straight out of the oven, don't be too harsh on it. It still needs time to settle because the last batch I took out of the oven after I edited the recipe, it called for a seasoning I had never heard of, never used, called cardamom, something like that. I've never used it
Cardamom.
before. Um, it called for a teaspoon. I did my own research. I decided to put a fourth teaspoon, took it out of the oven, had one, hated it. Purely, I mean, hated. I was like, this tastes. I feel like I was eating biscuits and gravy. I don't know why. I was like, I hate this. Granted, it was 1 a.m, so I don't know. I tend to bake late at night, so that's kind of my deal. But the next day, they were fantastic. But I have some more notes I got to add to my cinnamon rolls. But that is enough talking about cinnamon rolls. I hope you guys have a great Christmas season because it is. We're in the Christmas season now. We are. I love it. Can't stop me from saying it. We're the Fi Guys. We hope that you took a lot of notes on today's episode. You got a lot of information out of this one and a lot of entertainment as well. But we'll see you guys back here on Monday. Make sure to share the podcast, like the podcast, follow the podcast. Anything podcast, do that. Just do that. Yeah.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.